Candace Owens has done the same thing and taken some heat from it from Trump. We saw Tucker Carlson take some heat from Trump when Trump responded saying that Tucker should worry about getting on a major news network so his voice will be heard, so somebody can hear what he has to say. I'm not sure that Donald Trump understands completely, which is kind of surprising because he typically reads the room very well. But perhaps now that the interview has come out, perhaps he's going to understand exactly why maybe he made a mistake in saying that, because he benefited tremendously from podcasters, right? He's the fake media guy, fake news, right? He's the one that discredited a lot of the mainstream news networks. But now when somebody who was on the mainstream news network got fired and now is independent doing his podcasting, which helped Trump get elected, now because he disagrees with him and didn't even call him out in a disrespectful way, just called out the decision. Now he wants to make insults, to shoot at his credibility. Democrats can't even say what a woman is. Democrats like a Gavin Newsom will sit up here and do an interview with Charlie Kirk and admit that it's unfair for a biologically born boy, male, man, to be competing against a biologically born girl, female, woman in a sport. He says, I have daughters. That's unfair. There is an issue of fairness. But he doesn't do anything about it. And when he did say that, all the Democrats, or a lot of the Democrats, came out against him. Why? Because they believe in gang mentality, and their only foundational principle, if it is one, is anything against Donald Trump. Now, people earlier on may have said anything against the Republicans, but I think that Donald Trump is so polarizing that they've decided to have this Trump derangement syndrome where they do anything against Donald Trump in a far more radical way than previously where they may have said anything against the Republicans. I feel that so many Democrats and Republicans are scared of Trump because he's so anti-politically correctness and just anti-politician in a lot of ways, where he's not doing certain things, wasn't doing certain things to appease certain groups that may have paid him, contributed to his election, contributed to supporting him in other ways, like a lot of other politicians do, and they base their logic on who's paying them money and what agenda they're aligned with. Donald Trump destroyed that. However, Donald Trump seems to be making a decision now that goes against his foundational principles, and that's why he's getting called out. And it's necessary for him to get called out, in my opinion, because it gives a certain pressure that we don't typically give politicians to deliver on the things that they say they're going to do, especially when it comes to the Democratic Party. As you can see, I'm what a lot of people would call a black person, a black American. How long have the Democrats been promising us things and not delivering on anything, not even making an effort to deliver on, which is one of the things that I commend Trump for, whether it's the tariffs, whether it's other things, whether it's the border. He's been able to do certain things, take action on things that other people would politic for years and waste time and never actually take steps to doing anything because they're scared of getting criticized if they have to go about solving a problem the way they have to solve it, like we're hearing with Trump. We get more mad at Trump, or some people get more mad at Trump, the Trump derangement folk. They get more mad at Trump for taking steps to solve a problem than they do at other politicians that they voted for and supported who created the problem. Who not only created the problem, but Trump had it solved some of the stuff with the border with executive orders. Then Joe Biden and Kamala Harris get in office, and they decided to get rid of Trump's executive orders and created the worst migrant, or they added on to what has become the worst illegal migrant problem that we've ever seen in our country, perhaps. So there's a lot to be said there. But once again, I want to get back to the point. Democrats can learn a lesson here. They should learn a lesson here, and they're going to miss an opportunity to learn a lesson if they're not paying close attention. You should argue with people within your party. We've seen this happen where Trump has demonstrated that he's not willing to just go along with wherever the money comes from, And we saw this with Elon, perhaps. We saw this with Big Pharma and how Big Pharma gave him a lot of money. And you heard RFK Jr. come out and say, like, Big Pharma is giving Trump a lot of money, but he's not willing to be controlled by Big Pharma. And that's why Trump decided to go at Big Pharma in ways that previous politicians haven't been willing to do, and stand up against them overcharging Americans for certain prescriptions that they're not overcharging other countries, but they think that we can afford it. So therefore they charge us outrageous prices. There's a lot of people playing middleman that are making money off of it. Trump eliminated that. We've seen Trump go against certain things when it comes to electric vehicles. And his perhaps biggest donor was Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world. I start to use air quotes because you never know at what point if he is. And Donald Trump didn't just go along with everything that would benefit Elon Musk. No, he stood on the things that he's been saying he's standing on. We want natural gas vehicles. Or I don't know if natural is the right word, but we want gas-powered vehicles. So, and maybe natural is the right word. I gotta look that up. What's the right way of saying that? But neither here nor there. So, all of these people that are looking at Tucker Carlson, looking at Candace Owens, looking at Dave Smith and the likes of people like that on the Democratic side and cheering them on, like people that are on the Democratic side, they're cheering on all of this fracturing that a lot of people are saying, even though I don't really think it's a true fracture. And I think it's going to actually be a win for Republicans, libertarians, independents, people that are not pushing for war. I think it's going to be a win for the people that identify with those. And it may be a win to a certain point where it actually, in a weird way, it unites the Bernie Sanders of the world with the Tucker Carlsons and the people that align with that. Now, the reason why I say in a weird way is because Bernie is obviously, he's more of a socialist, which may be aligned with communism, where he wants the government to play a certain role and spread the wealth around rather than have this capitalist society. Now, the libertarians, they want a lot of the things that Bernie wants, where no wars. Well, they'll say certain things like Bernie's come out and said no war. They just have different ways of getting there. But from a principle standpoint, I think the principle of not wanting to get in any wars and not wanting to push for people to be killed in the Middle East, I think them agreeing on that may open up the door for certain opportunities for them to work together in the future. Cenk is another example. Cenk, I always mispronounce his name, but with the Young Turks, he, I believe, just came together with Dave Smith, and they agreed to never vote for anybody that's supporting us getting involved in this war with Iran moving forward. So there's a lot to be said here, but this is just another reason why I've been so turned off with the Democratic Party, is because they're not willing to stand on any principles. They have no principles. They'll complain about Project 2025, but they won't create their own Project 2025. They want zero accountability. They take zero responsibility. All they do is play the blame game. All they do is blame Democrats, Republicans. All they try to do is feed into the emotions and create victimhood mentality by their supporters to get them to vote for them, to get their supporters to think that, hey, America is such a terrible place, and the only way that we can make it better is if you vote for us. That's what they try to do. Meanwhile, they have nothing to stand on. They don't stand on anything except a hatred for Trump. And that's what they unite on above all else with anything. When Trump's not there, I don't know what they're going to unite on. I don't know where they're going to be. And maybe this is one of the reasons why they're so lost and why the country has such a low approval rating, a record low approval rating for a lot of the Democrats. They don't have a leader. They don't have a trusted leader. They don't have a direction. They're looking for a compass. Like, they have nothing. And a lot of that is because they're not willing to stand on anything. Any politician that's making big decisions affecting the livelihood of Americans, who can't tell me what a woman is, who can't tell me what a man is, who can't stand up and say that it's unfair for boys to compete in sports against girls, that presents an issue. And it presents an issue that the American people, who are now more informed than ever because of social media and advancements in technology, where you can't just bamboozle us with propaganda from mainstream news outlets, it's becoming harder and harder to finesse and manipulate people the way that politicians have previously.
First and foremost, want to give a huge shout out to everybody that continues to tap in with us, like and subscribe and join our community. If you haven't already, please make sure that you do. We look forward to engaging in some dope convo with you that can help us all elevate. So like, subscribe, and maybe even share the video if you're feeling real generous. On that note, we'll let you get back to the video. See you soon.
And it's the politicians that are being real, the politicians that are reading the room correctly, the politicians that are being genuine and being clear with the things that they stand on and willing to not budge based on the principles, and not willing to budge just based on, oh, well, these are my principles, or I don't have any principles, I just align with this person, or I just align with this agenda, this movement, or I just align with anything against that person. It's not working. It's not working. It didn't work in the election, and it's not going to work, in my opinion, moving forward. So where does this land us? I don't know. But perhaps it's just a question that a lot of people who either vote Democrat, support Democrats, align themselves with Democrats, or are Democratic politicians, perhaps this is a time to question and to process what's going on, and to perhaps make a stand and maybe write your own Project 2025. You know, maybe call it Project 2026 or Project 2029. I don't know what are you going to call it. But there needs to be clear things that people stand on, because that's what you get when it comes to Tucker. That's what you get when it comes to Candace. That's what you get when it comes to Dave Smith. And the willingness to admit when you're wrong is probably one of the most impressive things, because Ted Cruz, who put up a post that Tucker said about Iran, that Iran needs to be annihilated or something like that, from 2012, 13, 14 years ago. You're putting up a post and he's saying, what changed with Tucker? I wonder what changed with Tucker. How about new information? New information should bring about changed perspectives and opinions, perhaps. I hope that I'm not being held accountable to the same way that I thought in 2012 with the limited information that I was given in 2012. I'm sure that I don't believe the same things that I learned in school about slavery when I read a couple books, as if all black people came over here on the transatlantic slave trade and this. I don't believe all that. All right. So whether you believe it or not, the point is for us not to get separated on that. But the point is that we shouldn't be held accountable, or we should be held accountable to how we thought before, in which Tucker is holding himself accountable and apologizing for his stance, for instance, on the Iraq War. And moving forward, he's making the necessary adjustments to make sure that he doesn't make those mistakes again. And he's standing on it and speaking it loudly. So I commend him for that. I commend him for that, and I appreciate that. So y'all let me know what y'all thoughts are, of course. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know, that's what we want. We want engagement, because engagement allows us to get perspective. The more perspective that we have, different perspectives that we have, the better we're going to be equipped to go about solving a problem that can benefit the masses as best as possible. All right? And if you're feeling real generous, I need you to do me a favor. Thanks in advance. Press the share button, click copy the link, send it to some of your friends. Send it to some of your friends, and if I didn't already say it, subscribe. And not only subscribe, turn them notifications on, because if you just subscribe, you're not going to get the notifications of when we go live Mondays and Fridays, or any other time we're just popping up going live, and for when our video and the rest of our content comes out. So on that note, appreciate y'all, love y'all, I'll see y'all soon. Let me finish this bike workout. Salute. Damn, I'm really sweating. You see this shit? Over and out.